Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, gentlemen, so much for being here today. I will state again, I've said this many times in the short 8-9 months that I have been here, that this is one of my priorities, is working with veterans and mental health issues. And it was the first bill I proposed was working with veterans that have mental health and allowing them greater access. And so I do want to thank you. My condolences on the loss of your brother, Sean. Very, very sad.
Thank you.
This is an issue I'm extremely passionate about, and I think today's hearing just is reemphasizing to me that we have a corrupt and broken VA system. And when I hear that supervisors, other workers are more concerned about their own jobs than they are about the veterans, we have an issue. We have an issue, folks, that needs to be fixed. And I don't know how many hearings we're going to have until we get to actually addressing the situation. I hear a lot of talk, but we need to figure this out. So again, I'm very passionate about this issue, and thank you for coming forward, for being brave and doing the right thing. When it comes to accessing your health records, I just want to state, just for everybody, it doesn't matter what the reason is. They shouldn't be accessing your health records. That would be like saying it's okay for us to access anyone here in the audience, their health records. It's wrong. It should never, ever occur. Never without your authorization. So just want to emphasize that. Doesn't matter why. Mr. Coleman, do you believe there are many alternatives for veterans who feel they are not receiving timely or adequate mental health care at their local VA?
Thank you for asking me the question, Senator. I don't know if you read the article by Dave Phillips, front page New York Times on Sunday. It was about the plight of 2nd Battalion, 7th Marines, who have lost, I believe it's 13 members to suicide after their deployments from Iraq and Afghanistan. The picture I have in front of me is me and my 2 Marine Corps sons. Not only am I a former Marine, but I make Marines. But the one on the right is with 2-7 currently. In that article, they talk about how many of these veterans came to the VA for health care and were turned away. In one instance, he had a 22-year-old female social worker or whatever that told him that the loss of his buddies was like breaking up with a girlfriend and he just had to get over it. Well, we don't just get over it, and that's not right. And that's why I think that these guys and girls, when they come home from theaters of war, should have the right to go wherever they feel comfortable. We owe it to them to send them anywhere they feel comfortable. If it's a counselor in another town that they want to go to and they're going to open up and talk, then we should allow them to do that, because once they've committed suicide, it's too late. There are no second chances.
That's right. And you do believe that opening up for greater access, whether it's at the VA or whether it's through a community clinic, peer-to-peer supports, those are ways to address
any of those, ma'am. And the reason I believe that is I don't agree with the number of 22 per day. I think that's a number of suicides. I believe that's a number fed to us in the hopes that we'll all shut up and make it go away. That study was sponsored by the VA. It didn't include the states of California, Texas, and Illinois. And I don't know about you folks, but when I was in the Marine Corps, over half of us were from California and Texas. Mm-hmm. Some of the guys written about in that article that have committed suicide are from California. They also don't count the phenomenon of suicide by cop. I've had 2 veterans that were killed by police officers. Not saying it's the police officer's fault, but they pretend to have a weapon or they pull a weapon. The VA does nothing to report those as suicides. The number of 22 per day is inaccurate, and we need an independent third party to come in and do a complete study to show us what the real number is, so we know once we get a real number, then we'll know what a big deal it is, and then we can fight it together.
Mm-hmm. And I use that 22 a day number all the time, and I think that is appalling enough. But I think you are probably correct, Mr. Coleman, in your assessment. And for all of you, in your experience, do you believe the VA management takes seriously ideas for reform, the implementation of the IG recommendations, or recommendations from staff members when they are seeking to improve these services at the VA? Do you think they take them seriously?
VA leaders, it's a system of cronyism that has gone on for so long, and they protect each other. rules and regulations oftentimes, they don't care. They use them when it benefits them. And I'll tell you, and one of the reasons why is because nothing ever happens to them. Mm-hmm. Even if you catch them. I put policies in front of folks and said, you can't do this. This gets a policy. They still do it. But nothing ever happens to them. And you know, the IG makes recommendations, but they don't have to hold, I mean, they don't.
Who's holding their feet to the
Right,
fire?
Right.
Right. We should be doing that. Thank you, Mr. Wilkes. Mr. Cola.
Excuse me. I always stated that it's great to have all these hearings, all new policies, all new recommendations and solutions. But since this scandal is broken since Phoenix, we have not held one person accountable for any wrongdoing at the VA as far as whistleblower retaliation. The VA, what they do is the IG, I reported a couple of things to the IG send it back to the agency to investigate itself, and then they give it to the supervisor, and the supervisor already know who the whistleblower is. So I always truly believe is that you cannot police yourself. It's not the way, the solution that you should do it. Like I said, the key component that everything is failing to make a VA better and to do the service for our veterans is start holding people accountable.
Very good. Well, I know my time is up. Do you have any other comments, please?
If I may, with regards to that, I know that, you know, the people who seem to have been responsible for retaliating against my brother, as far as I'm aware, are still employed at the VA. I don't know if that's pending investigation, but that's unacceptable.
It is unacceptable.
And that is Dr. David Houlihan and the human resources person, David DeCant.
Thank you. Again, my condolences. Mr.
you.
Coleman, do you have any closing thoughts very quickly?
Ma'am, really quickly, I was just going to say, the retaliation investigations, I was removed on hearsay. I was on paid administrative leave for 206 days until I was ordered back into the same retaliatory environment on August 17th, which I refused to go until it's safe. So they're able to remove me on hearsay, whereas we have a sworn affidavit from the HR chief showing that the director held this meeting to propose to fire me on January 13th, and he's still showing up to work every day. I love my job helping vets get clean and sober. I would do it for free, and they removed me from that, or took me out of that position to investigate hearsay, which was proven untrue in late February.
Thank you again, gentlemen. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator.